Hey, welcome back to Love Wins in a world where love is dying and where truth doesn't seem to matter, even though it's the truth that will set us free. You should stick around for this episode because I'm going to deal with where we are in time as it relates to Jesus and what the Bible teaches. So let me start in 2 Timothy chapter 4, where Paul was advising a young preacher, Timothy, with these words: Preach the word, preach the word, be ready in season and out of season. Convince, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and teaching. Paul's like, any way you can, all the time, anywhere, in any circumstances, in all circumstances, people need to hear the truth. Do it with patience, do it with long suffering, but do it. Why? Because the time will come, Paul said, when they will not endure sound doctrine. They won't listen to the truth. But according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth, and they will be turned aside to fables. Now, recently, someone commented on one of my YouTube videos that I can't say for certain that we are at the end of time, and that's true. So all I can do is speak to the times in which we are in, and I'm starting to wonder if the time for preaching the straight truth is over, or if it's very close to being over. Because what I see more and more of is people who will only listen to what they want to hear, will only entertain people who tell them what they already agree with. And such thinking flies in the face of everything the Bible is about. So, coming back to this theme of Jesus, who he is, what he's like, what he came for, etc., etc., when John introduces him in the Gospel of John, which is where we're going to spend most of our time today, John says, the light came into the darkness. He's the light, we're the darkness. Therefore, if we're going to follow Jesus, we're going to have to move out of the darkness into the light. We can't stay in the darkness and try and make the light conform to our darkness. That's not how it works. We're not leaders of Jesus and teachers of Jesus. He is our leader and teacher. Therefore, our ideas have to mold into his ideas and become like him, and not the other way around. But I hear more and more people who claim to be followers of Jesus who don't reflect his views at all. So the light comes into the darkness, that's us, we're the darkness, and the darkness could not comprehend it, which is understandable. We're going to talk a bit about culture today. Actually, we're going to talk a lot about culture. Because what we're doing today in Western Christianity is trying to force Christianity into Western, make it like Western culture, make the two one, instead of actually becoming Christians who actually follow Jesus. You say, well, how do you know that? Why would you say that? Because the values Jesus had, the things he stood up for, the things he was about, the things he modeled, the things he demonstrated, if they don't line up with the things we're trying to do, then something's wrong, and it's not him. Jews to this day, some of them, will say that Jesus wasn't the Messiah for the simple reason that he didn't do the things the Messiah was supposed to do. But here's what they did, what their ancestors did. They created the ruler, the measuring stick, and then they measured Jesus by it, instead of letting Jesus define the measuring stick. You say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, a few weeks ago, we were in John chapter 9. We're going to spend some more time there. And then we're going to come back to John chapter 8 to see the context of where John chapter 9 comes from. So in John chapter 9, there's this man who was blind from birth. And the disciples are confused at the beginning because they're like, Jesus, whose fault is it? We'll come back to that. The blame game. When something goes wrong, somebody has to be to blame. Jesus uses the opportunity to say, listen, this man came into the world this way to glorify God because his life is still speaking today. His life is still trying to teach us truth today. His life is still making a difference today, if we'll listen. So Jesus heals him straight up. And the church freaks out because not only did Jesus heal him, but he did it on the Sabbath, which, according to the Jewish measuring stick, you're not supposed to do. But again, that's not a God measuring stick, that's a Jewish measuring stick. So it says, they brought him who formerly was blind to the Pharisees, to the church leaders. It was a Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Oh, he made clay on Sabbath. Can't do that. But says who? Whose measuring stick is that? Then the Pharisees also asked him again how he had received his sight. He said to them, he put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and I see. Therefore some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. According to who? In fact, I recently listened to an otherwise reasonable, level-headed guy try and discredit the seventh-day Sabbath because Jesus was a Sabbath breaker. Jesus was not a Sabbath breaker. According to who? He was only a Sabbath breaker according to people who didn't understand the Sabbath and who made their own measuring stick. That doesn't make Jesus wrong. Doesn't make the Sabbath a problem. It just means there were people who were religious who made up rules that Jesus never made up, who made the day into something God never intended it to be. That's all it means. Now, chapter 9 has a context. Now, for those of you who don't know what that context word means, I keep using it means everything that happens has things that happen before it that are related to that thing, right? When you speak, you're speaking because there's a reason for you to speak. Somebody asked you a question, something happened, you have a story to tell, you went somewhere, there's a context, there's some reason why you're speaking. John chapter 8 is the lead-in to John chapter 9. I know you're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to read a significant portion of John chapter 8. So John chapter 8 is the chapter that starts with a woman caught in adultery. We're not going to touch that story today. We will come to that story in the future. And we're going to pick it up in verse 13. The Pharisees, same people that were complaining about the guy healed on the Sabbath. You bear witness of yourself, and your witness is not true. So in other words, they're saying, Jesus, you say things about yourself, but the things you say about yourself, they're not true. Again, according to who? Who made the measuring stick that made Jesus' words true or not true? Who's defining that? Who's determining that? I mean, don't you find it wild today that a public figure can speak and those who are against that public figure can say he's wrong and he's wrong for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. And the other side who supports him says, oh no, he's right for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. But he only said one thing. It can't both be right and wrong at the same time. Jesus answered and said to them, even if I bear witness of myself, my witness is true. For I know where I came from and where I'm going. Now imagine, you enter into a room and someone in the room says, where'd you come from? And you say, I came from school. And they say, no, that's not true. You're saying that on your behalf. No, it's not true. And you say, well, why'd you ask me then? I know who I am. I know where I came from to get here. I don't need your approval. I don't need you to agree with me. I don't need you to say I'm right or wrong. I know where I was. I know where I am. End of story. So Jesus says, even if I bear witness of myself, my witness is true, because I know where I came from and where I'm going. But you do not know where I come from, nor where I'm going. So they're speaking out of ignorance. They don't know Jesus. They can look at him. They know his name. They know what he looks like. They know what town he came from. But they don't know where he came from, ultimately, or where his mission is headed. They don't know those things. And partly because they don't know, and partly because when he tries to tell them, they refuse to listen. Jesus continues, "You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. And yet if I do judge, my judgment is true. For I am not alone, but I am with the Father who sent me. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one who bears witness of myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness of me." Notice what Jesus does here. It's kind of cute. He uses their law, again, their own measuring stick, back on them. He says, you've made up this measuring stick that says you need at least two witnesses or it isn't true. So Jesus says, I have two witnesses, me and my dad. I am the one who bears witness of myself, and the Father who sent me also bears witness of me. Then they said to him, where is your Father? Jesus answered, you know neither me nor my Father. If you had known my Father, you would have known, you know neither me nor my Father. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. These words Jesus spoke in the treasury, as he taught in the temple, and no one laid hands on him, for his hour had not yet come. We're going to continue. Then Jesus said to them, I am going away, and you will seek me, and will die in your sin. Where I am going, you cannot come. So the Jews said, will he kill himself? Because he says, where I am going, you cannot come. Irony, right? Is he going to kill himself? No, actually, they're going to kill him. And he said to them, you are from beneath. I am from above. You are of this world. I am not of this world. Light and darkness. The mindset, beliefs, kingdom, the everything of Jesus. What makes him who he is. It's nothing. There's nothing in common with these men. Therefore, I said to you, you will die in your sins. For if you do not believe that I am he, you will die in your sins. Now, this could sound harsh, but remember, this same Jesus went up on the mountain outside of Jerusalem and wept over the city, saying how often I long to gather you together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. They said to him, who are you? And Jesus said, just what I have been saying to you from the beginning. There's a problem here. They don't know him, but he's been telling them about himself all along. There isn't a problem of information. There's a problem of absorption of information. See, Paul warned that in the end there would come a time when people would no longer listen to solid, sound, true, right, correct information. They just wouldn't. Wouldn't matter how you said it, when you said it, how often you said it, how clearly you said it. It doesn't matter. They won't have it. And these men will not listen to Jesus because they don't want to hear what he's saying. It doesn't match their desires. It doesn't match their goals. It doesn't match their plans. So they won't listen. And yet they keep asking him, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Where are you from? Where are you going? I've told you. But you don't want to know. Verse 26. This is John chapter 8, by the way. I have many things to say to you and to judge concerning you. But he who sent me is true, and I speak to the world those things which I heard from him. In other words, I'm here on a mission from my Father. I'm not going to change it for you. I am who I am, and I'm here for why I'm here, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. 27. They did not understand that he spoke to them of the Father, capital F. Then Jesus said to them, when you lift up the Son of Man, See, a minute ago they said, is he going to kill himself? No, no, you're going to kill him. When you lift up the Son of Man, when you kill me, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as my Father taught me, I speak these things. You're going to have to kill me before you come to the realization that I was telling the truth the whole time. And he who sent me is with me. The Father has not left me alone, for I always do the things that please him. You see, they wanted Jesus to please them. They had an agenda. They had a plan. They wanted to make Jerusalem great again. And Jesus was supposed to help them with that. He was supposed to lead them in that. But that's not why he came. And there are still people today, 2,000 years later, saying Jesus was not the real Messiah because he didn't please us. He did not do what we wanted him to do. Yeah, but who made the list? Who said he was supposed to do those things? Who said that's why he was supposed to come? Next verse is very interesting. As he spoke these words, many believed in him. So you have a crowd of people. Jesus is speaking to all of them. As he speaks to all of them, the words sink into some of them, and they're rejected by most of them. Now Jesus turns his attention to those who are following along, listening, and absorbing what he's saying. Then Jesus said to those who believed him, we're in verse 31 now, if you abide, remain, stay in my word, you are my disciples indeed. Because a disciple is one who learns from the master. And the way you learn from the master is through the master's words. If you abide in his words, you will be his disciples. Next verse. Tagline for my channel. And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Free from the ruler. Free from the list. Free from the expectations that aren't going to take us anywhere good. Free. If we follow Jesus, we become free. If we don't, we remain enchained in our ideas that don't produce anything but more darkness. 33. They answered him. Now listen to the level of darkness that they're in. We are Abraham's descendants and have never been enslaved to anyone. These are Jews speaking. We are Abraham's children. We've never been enslaved to anyone. Have you read their history? Even if you haven't read their history, even if you don't know their history, they knew their history. The nation of Israel began by coming out of slavery. That is the birthplace of their story. Abraham's descendants went down to Egypt when Joseph was second in command under Pharaoh. After time, the Pharaoh changed, and the Pharaoh felt threatened by these foreigners who were living among the Egyptians, and he enslaved them to oppress them and repress them. Enslaved. Then they came out of Egypt, and they were a free nation for a while. And then in the book of Judges, they were put down by several nations here and there, back and forth. And then later on, the Babylonians came in and completely destroyed them and took many of them away, including Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, names that you're probably familiar with, hopefully, enslaved them. And as they're having this conversation, they're living under Roman rule. There's probably Roman soldiers walking by in the background. But they're so delusional, so in their own darkness, a darkness where they will only listen to what people tell them what they want to hear, that they can say with a straight face, we've never been enslaved by anyone. And what they really don't understand is that Jesus isn't even talking about that kind of slavery. 34. Jesus answered them, most assuredly. That's the strongest beginning of a statement you can have in the Greek language. You can say assuredly, but this is most assuredly, like no doubt. What I'm saying, there's no doubt about. Most assuredly, I say to you, whoever commits sin is a slave of sin. In other words, if the Roman Empire disappeared right now, you'd still be slaves. If I disappeared right now and stopped bothering you with my new kingdom ideas, you'd still be enslaved. If anyone you imagine is your enemy and a threat to you and the people that you blame all your problems on, if all those people disappeared, you'd still be enslaved. He continues, a slave does not abide in the house forever. They're just a worker. They come, they go. But a son, he abides forever. Therefore, if the Son makes you free, he's the Son. The Father sent him. He's here to please his Father. And it would please his Father very much if we would choose freedom. If the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. For God so loved the world that he sent his Son. He wants us to choose freedom. It doesn't end there. It gets worse. I know that you are Abraham's descendants, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. We literally could spend an entire video and maybe multiple videos on this verse. I know, says Jesus, that you are Abraham's descendants. You are from the bloodline of Abraham. I know that. But you seek to kill me. Implied but not stated, will be stated later. Abraham would never do that. And why are you trying to kill me? Because my word has no place in you. You are so obsessed with your own picture and your own plans and your own ideas and your own everything that when I come telling you what my kingdom is like, what my Father's kingdom is like, why I'm here and where I want to take you, you will not listen because it doesn't match what you expect. I speak, says Jesus, what I have seen with my Father. With my Father. Not from my Father, with my Father. That will come up later. And you do what you have seen with your father. They answered him and said to him, Abraham is our father. Jesus already said, I know that you're the descendants of Abraham. You come from the bloodline of Abraham. Abraham's our father, they said. Jesus said to them, verse 39 now, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. You see, now Jesus is making something clear that is not clear to them. Jesus doesn't look at children as bloodline. Jesus looks at children as those who live and believe in the same way. In other words, the descendants of Abraham are not those who come down through a bloodline. The descendants of Abraham are those who believe as he believed and lived in accordance with those beliefs. Those are the children of Abraham. So when you're watching the news today and people are trying to defend Israel and wave, I was just driving today, completely out of the blue, this guy is standing like a statue on the side of the road holding a flag of Israel. He needs to read John chapter 8. Jesus is not a nationalistic flag waver. His children are those who believe from every language, every kindred, every tongue, and every nation. And the Bible repeats that over and over and over. It's an unmistakable, undeniable theme. They answered and said, "We are Abraham. Abraham is our father." And Jesus said to them, "If you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth, which I heard from God. Abraham did not do this. He did not try to kill me, nor did he reject the words that I brought to him from God." Jesus says, "You do the deeds of your father." It's twice he said that now. Then they said to him, "We were not born of fornication." That's intimacy, bearing children outside of marriage. "We have one Father, God." Jesus said to them, "If God were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Nor have I come of myself. He sent me. Why do you not understand what I'm saying? Because you are not able to listen to my words, because they don't match what you want. You don't want a God who loves every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. You don't want a God who considers all believers Abraham's children. You want a God who's going to come and make Jerusalem great again at the expense of everyone else. You won't hear me. You are of your father, the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. Make yourselves great at the expense of others. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of them. But because I tell you the truth, you won't believe me. Which of you convicts me of sin? What have I done to you? How have I hurt you? And if I tell you the truth, why won't you believe me? He who is of God hears God's message. Therefore, you do not hear, because you are not of God. Now I'm just going to read the rest and without interruption. Then the Jews answered and said to him, "Do we not say rightly that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?" Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And I do not speak for my own glory. There is one who speaks and judges. Most assuredly I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never see death." Then the Jews said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham is dead, the prophets are dead, and you say, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never taste death." You're crazy. Sorry, that was my comment. 53. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who is dead? And the prophets are dead. Who do you make yourself out to be? Today we would say, who do you think you are? Jesus answered, if I honor myself, my honor's nothing. It is my Father who honors me, of whom you say that he is your God. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it, and he was glad. Then the Jews said to him, You are not yet 50 years old, and you've seen Abraham? Jesus said to them, Most assuredly I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Then they took up stones to stone him. But Jesus hid himself, went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and passed by. This is the context that leads into John chapter 9, which ends with the Pharisees asking, Are we blind also? Whoever you are listening to this, I'll probably never know you. I'm not here to get anything from you. Nothing. What I want for you is for you to realize there are only two kingdoms. And if you're trying to pull Jesus down to our level and make him the hero of your cause at the expense of other people, that's not Jesus. You're not following Jesus at all. We'll see you next time.